Hello everybody, today we're going to be making Hamantaschen and they're going to be vegan and they were inspired by Natalie Portman. I put my own spin on it so you'll see.
Why do you say Hamantaschen? It's Hamantaschen. After Haman, it was named Haman. Haman was his name, not Haman, not Haman. Haman. He's Haman. How are you doing? You're doing amazing with Hamantaschens. Not any Hamantaschens, only Hamantaschens today. Hamantaschens. How do you say Hamantaschens? How do you say Hamantaschens?
I'm going to start with 1.5 cup of all-purpose organic flour. We're going to need 3/4 cups of earth balance and coconut oil. We're going to use a combination of the two. You can use just one or the other if you like, or do as I do. So I'm just going to flatten this down. So that's 3/4 cups of both the earth balance and the coconut oil, all squished down. Next, we're going to need 1/2 cup of sugar. So I'm just going to pour it into the same 1/2 cup that I used before. All organic cane sugar. And next, we're going to be using some orange juice from freshly squeezed orange. So we'll simply cut it in half. And we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Now I'll show you momentarily. You want a 1/4 cup total. You want a 1/4 cup total of the orange juice. And more juice comes out of the orange when the orange is warmed up. And Natalie Portman's recipe actually calls for 1 banana in place of an egg. I have flax meal on hand. My husband is about bananas. He uses them like practically every day in a smoothie. So I didn't know that they were all gone. So I'm just going to use flax. I was initially going to mix 1/2 of the banana and 1 flax egg, which is 1 tablespoon of flax meal and with 2 tablespoons of water. So we have our flax egg. This recipe actually calls for 1 whole tablespoon of vanilla. I use organic vanilla best. Always preferable to use organic when you can. There we go. 1 tablespoon of the vanilla. Before I forget, this recipe also calls for 1 tablespoon of zest of the orange. So depending on what tools you have in the kitchen, you can chop off some of the peel and chop it very finely, or you can grate the orange peel. Depends on what whatever you feel like. I decided to chop the rest of the orange zest because the microplane was taking quite some time there. So here we go. And the recipe also calls for a pinch of salt, so I have my Himalayan salt here. I'm gonna just put some in our bowl here. So now it's time to mix all our ingredients together. So we have our flour in here, sugar and salt. And we're just going to go ahead and mix all the wet ingredients in as well. By the way, in my opinion, the best Hamantaschen have orange in them. If you have a fancy schmancy mixer, you can go ahead and do it that way as well. Dough is starting to come together here. What we're going to do with this dough is we're going to wrap it in some plastic wrap and refrigerate it for 2 hours, and then it will be ready to roll out. So here's our dough, and it's ready to be refrigerated for 2 hours, and we're gonna come back. Okay, see you then. I'm back! I took out the dough out of the fridge, and we're gonna be rolling it out now. Even though I wiped down the counter very thoroughly, I put a little bit of water underneath and put some parchment paper on top. The water is to help it stick to the surface. I'm going to just dust this with some flour. So I'm going to make some circles with this. We have all our rounds here for Hamantaschen. We have the smaller ones and then some bigger and more rustic ones. So we're just gonna go ahead and fill them with jam. So the jam we have is the Crofter's Seedless Raspberry Jam and St. Delfour Thick Apricot Jam and some other homemade jam, which is strawberry and blackberry jam. So we'll start off with the strawberry blackberry jam, and you only want a small amount so that you will be able to fold the Hamantaschen together. And our raspberry jam. So you'll be tempted to overfill them. Try to resist that though. Let's do some apricot. There we go. Moving over to the big ones. The apricot. These are bigger, so I can add a bit more. Still trying to resist adding too much. And we'll do one more raspberry. So let's start over here since we're closer. We're going to be putting them in the freezer as well before we bake them. One of my favorite teachers always said it's rustic if it's not like perfect, if it's a little bit messy looking. We call it rustic. So you can either pinch the corners or fold them over and then pinch them. This particular recipe, I find the dough is very soft as opposed to other recipes. So we'll see how they turn out in the end. So Haman, the Purim story, was an evil guy. He wanted to kill all the Jews, and Queen Esther was the heroine of the story. Haman, King Ahasuerus was in love with Esther and didn't know she was Jewish either. Haman tried to convince the king to kill all the Jews, and Esther was the one who saved the day. So these little triangles are kind of like, they represent Haman's hat. or some people say they represent his ears. So why did they choose to focus on Haman? That's a good conversation topic. The cool thing about the dough being so soft is it's so easy to stick it together. It was in the fridge though. 2 hours straight. So now we've got to get it into a container for the freezer. So the other bunch of Hamantaschen are going in the freezer and we'll come back in 30 minutes. I preheated the oven to 375 while the cookies were in the freezer. We have our parchment lined baking sheet and we're about ready to put the cookies on them and in the oven. Keep in mind that the bigger cookies will take a bit longer than the smaller ones. The recipe says to have them in there for 25 minutes or until golden brown, so just keep an eye on them. So we are ready to put our Hamantaschen in the oven now. Our rustic Hamantaschen. Remember, they're rustic, not messy. So remember, they're not messy, they're rustic, and we'll come back in 25 minutes with some checks in between to see when they're ready. The tiny ones will probably be ready sooner. We'll see. While we're waiting for our cookies, I thought I'd let you guys know that I plan on making a brand new video every Monday. So you can beat the Mondays with vegetarian cooking with JJ. I'll be making a new recipe every week. So hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and the little bell notification so you can stay tuned for new videos. Okay, so I'm donning a different type of mask than what we're used to. It is Purim, so it's time to dress up in costumes and be silly, make fun of religion too, have a few drinks. Anyway, our cookies aren't quite brown yet, so we need to have them in there for a bit more time.
Drum roll, please.
We're gonna take out the smaller.
Excellent, everyone, you can drum roll at home too. Now presenting the 2021 Virtual Spieltacular Retrospective. We're going to be presenting, songs from our last 3 musical spiels.
So our small Hamantaschen are good. We just need to let them cool. The bigger Hamantaschen have to be in there a little bit longer. So we have our small Hamantaschen here, and we're going to leave them to cool. Some of the jam is coming out, but that's okay.
Strange, but it's true.
You just have to let them cool and then they're good to eat. So I'm gonna have the first bite.